Hi, I'm David. This is part 2 of how to make a delicious homemade chicken noodle soup. Part 1 was how to cut up a chicken. This is part 2, how to make a chicken stock. And part 3 will be how to make the chicken noodle soup. Okay, now that we've cut up the chicken that you can use for really just about anything, we're going to turn the cut up chicken more into chicken noodle soup. So I like to take basically everything. The bones. Since we're making chicken noodle soup, what I like to use for the meat is the breast meat. You don't really need the skin in the chicken noodle soup. It will have enough fat in it already, but I'll take that off later. And I like the thighs. That's my favorite meat, is the thigh meat. For the stock, we'll use everything else. We'll use the legs, which you might think of as a shame, but I like to use the complete chicken. I don't want to just have 2 legs set behind, and it helps make a richer, more full stock. And the thighs and the breast have plenty of meat in it for the chicken noodle soup. Of course, you could reserve this if you wanted to. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start cutting this thing up into smaller pieces. That'll help the juices come out. Sometimes it gets a little tough, but that's okay. So you can see I like to just cut it up into smaller pieces. And that's the backbone of the stock. No pun intended. Cut those up into pieces. Cut the chicken wing into pieces. That's probably enough. You can cut it up more if you want, but this is about what I do. I do it so it's easy. And actually the leg is a little bit trickier. So I just cut off mostly a big chunk of meat for it. And I kind of just cut it up a little bit to help the juices come out. But I don't kill myself trying to cut the bone. Just enough so that I can get all this stuff brown. And I put it into a bowl. Okay, so here are the ingredients for the chicken stock. You can see we have the cut up chicken in the bowl, the Trader Joe's mirepoix, salt and pepper, bay leaves, and you can see I have taken the skin off the chicken breasts and the chicken thighs. We'll brown those up for the chicken noodle soup. Those aren't really used for the stock. Okay, step 1. Turn the stove on. You want to put it down to about a medium high, and then get a nice heavy soup pot on top of it. And then you want to heat up some olive oil. And I put in, I'm guessing that's about a tablespoon. I don't measure much out, and I haven't found that it matters too much, but somewhere around that amount there. And get that heated up. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the mirepoix and I'm going to divide it in half. I'm going to use half of it for this stock, and then I'm going to take the other half, I'm going to finely chop it up and use that for the chicken noodle soup. This takes a couple minutes for the olive oil to heat up. Alright, I let the olive oil heat up, and while I was doing that, I just divided the mirepoix into halves. So I left half of it here, which we will use in a moment, and the other half we'll use for the chicken noodle soup. Right now all I'm going to do is brown the chicken that I'm going to use for the chicken noodle soup. So that's the 2 breasts and the thighs. I'm washing my hands right now. I just wash them a lot while I cook with this. And all you want to do is cook these for a few minutes until they're brown. I like to kind of stir them up a little bit to make sure that the oil is spread out and that it's evenly coating the chicken. Okay, so I've had the chicken in here for 5 or 6 minutes or so, and that's about right. You just want to get it brown, and I like the little brownness on the bottom of the pan. And then you take those out and reserve for later. Okay, and now I'm going to take the mirepoix, half the mirepoix, and start heating it up just for a minute. Next, I'm going to take the cut up chicken pieces and stir them in. And get them browning. And now what I'm going to do is this is going to be a combination of sweating the meat and boiling the meat. So I'm going to put it, once I get it stirred up here, I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit to medium-low. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to put my timer on for 20 minutes. Okay. So our 20 minutes is up. Let's see how the chicken did. Wow, look at that. That is just concentrated chicken flavor right there. Okay, that's perfect. So you can see what we've done here is we've just sweated out all those juices. It's getting a little brown on the bottom. That's a beautiful thing. Okay, so now what we want to do, we've got a lot of the chicken juice flavored out. Next thing we want to do is add about 2 quarts of water to the stock. What I like to do here is I use this glove. I've got a 2-quart teapot and I just fill it all the way full. And I like to wear this glove because that steam is killer, but it doesn't bother me with the glove on. Alright, so pour 2 quarts of water into the chicken pot. And that's what's going to help us make a beautiful, delicious stock. So now we pull this bad boy up to high heat. We want to get it to boil. And while it's getting hot here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some salt. I use the Himalayan salt because my sister-in-law said it's really good salt. So I put in that much, and I guess that's a couple teaspoons. I like to put in a little bit of pepper too. And I'm going to take some bay leaves. You can see I got some little pieces plus I like the bay leaves. And I like to give it a little crumple up to throw in there. And give it a little stir. And then next, I'm going to take the pieces that I reserved earlier. You can see it's starting to boil. Take the thigh, the whole breasts, and they're cold enough now that I can handle them without any problem. And just put those 4 pieces of chicken in there. Actually, there's a little bit of juice, chicken flavor. Don't want to lose any of it. Again, I like to wash my hands during all these things. I'm going to get it up to a boil, and then 20 minutes of a nice simmer. Okay, so 20 minutes. Let's see how it's doing. Actually, that's perfect. You see how it's just such a very light boil? Just a really soft simmer to it. That's perfect. So what we want to do now, stir it up a little bit. What I want to do now is get out the reserved pieces. That's one of the thighs. I'll take it out. Sometimes I have to do a little digging around for them. There we go. There's one of the breasts. Now, The other breast is pretty easy to find. Now where is that last thigh? Here it is. Alright, these pieces I've taken out. They've just been poached in the broth. Now I'm going to separate the solids from the broth. I like to do it in the sink, and you can use any kind of strainer that you have handy. This is the one that I have handy. And you need to be careful with this. You don't want to get scalded or anything, so you try to do a nice low pour. But you have to pour it fast enough that all the broth comes out. Okay, very good. So, pull this guy up, give it a little shake, and all of this is going to be discarded. This is what made an awesome tasting broth. Alright, so this is the broth here, and the only thing left to do is you could take this broth as is and use it to cook. Or, if you want, what I like to do is put it in the refrigerator for a period of time, and you can see those little swirls of fat on the top. The chicken broth is delicious on its own. It doesn't need any fat in it. So what I like to do is put it in the refrigerator, let the fat coagulate, and then just spoon off most of the fat from the broth. And there you're left with a delicious broth. So there you have it. That's video 2 on how to make your own chicken stock. What we're going to do now is use the stock to make our soup.